Hi everybody. Today we're going to look at how you can get a great grade on your research paper. So I'm going to take the two documents that are on Blackboard and just go back and forth and show you how you should get your paper done. I will also have you look at an article that I found. It's just a general article, doesn't really mean anything, but just to give you an idea of what you're trying to achieve and how close you should be to this. Of course, this is a professionally written article. I don't expect that same type of language and also statistical analyses, but you should have the same type of format. So the first thing we'll do is you should have it in APA style. Okay, APA style. If you don't know, there's some resources to find that as well. And if you have the new Word document software, it usually puts it in APA style for you. So now the title. This is the first thing. Okay, so don't use jargon. Here's an example of a title here. Okay, participation in everyday school activities for children with and without disabilities. Very short, sweet, we know what you're talking about. So that goes in here. Here are some examples from just general areas, design and testing of a small power company, and sometimes it's a question, and sometimes there'll be a statement, and there'll be like this, power system operation, how to survive an emergency. Okay, so that's the title, 5 points. The next thing is the abstract. Let me first give you a piece of advice. Write the abstract at the last, as the last piece of your paper. Don't write it at the beginning. This is an overview. This is like the teaser in a commercial that will tell you what's coming up next on TV. Well, this is what it is, and it's only about 100 to 250 words. If you submit a paper to a journal, they want always this small of a number of words in your abstract. So what this article here, here's the abstract right there. That's it. Boom. So we get an idea. In fact, if you're doing research for articles, sometimes this can give you the most detailed information that you need, whether you're going to keep this article or not. Okay, so that's the abstract, and it's about 100 to 500 words. I'd say about 100 to 250 words. You don't have to make it that long. This is from another source here. So again, what are your goals, objective, results, conclusions? Okay, 10 points. So you can see you're only up to 15 points, but it's still important. Again, write this at the end of your paper. The next thing is introduction. And the introduction is basically a review of the literature. Okay, so you address the problem. What are you trying to solve, or what are you trying to research? Do you have a hypothesis? Do you have an alternative hypothesis? Do you have a question? Is there a correlation between A and B? So you look at this, so you discuss this and use all the research that you found, and you type your literature review here, double space, cite in APA style. So this is a big piece over here, okay? And look at what this article does for introduction right here. Okay, this keywords, don't worry about that. That in articles, you usually have to write keywords for journals. But here we have the beginning of the introduction, and you can see all of the. You're going to see all of the references. I lost my train of thought here. In APA style. Okay, so boom. This is the big thing. This is what you've been doing for a long time, is gathering the research. Of course, this is a big section on this paper. And then it has to be cited in APA format. Notice how it is in here. You have the names of the people and then the dates of the publication. So that later when you go down to the references, I can get down to the references quickly, I can check to see what they are. And that's the detail. We'll talk about that later. So that's the introduction, which is a basic idea of your paper. All right, why is this important to you? Why are you telling me this? So that's in here, and it goes, again, you can look at this, and you give a summary of what it is. And the introduction is big, that's 20 points. So that's even more than the abstract and title put together. All right, so that should give you an idea of what you really should be focusing on. The methods and procedure, what did you do? Did you look up research in papers and found a literature search? Did you do some statistical and a statistical experiment? Did you do correlation? Did you go online to find some sites that gave you some data, then you did a correlation between them? Did you do a normal curve? Did you do any of the other types of things that we talked about? So that's the methods here, and you can see the materials and methods. They talked about who participated in the study. You didn't do that, because if you did, you would have needed permission from the people and also from USM, but we won't get into that. material. This is probably the observational tool and the types of things that they ask the students to do. And some of these things should start looking like it makes sense, the mean, standard deviation. But that's just the methods here, okay? They did an interview. Ability index, I'm not even sure what that is. And there's the procedure of what they did. So they're just defending their methodology, okay? Then analysis. So when you're into this section here, the methods, this is your section header, center of the page, methods, procedure. Did you just, again, paradigm, study design. These are different types of procedures that you could have done. Okay, data collection, data analysis plan, and so on. Okay, so that goes in there. And the results are worth 20 points. Okay, this is where you prove your, I'm sorry, the methods, here we're talking about methods, 10 points. Okay, next thing is the results section. Okay, we want to see what your results are. This is where you can give your graphs. Boom, this has got to be where the graphs of things of your data is. Okay, that are the graphs of the data. So the results can be the sample, all of this stuff over here, analysis. What did you find? And here, watch how long this results is. Okay, they have the tables here. All right, they did a t-test. By the way, we didn't get the t-test. That was the next chapter in the book, but that's what they did for a test to see how significant it is. This should look familiar to you. Okay, so they see it's in action right there. And correlations. Okay, so there's a few things here that should look familiar, so that when you're reading it, you can get an idea of what if there's a correlation between these between participants, autonomy, age, number, disability, so on. So they're putting all the numbers here, the mean, standard deviation. They're not using the Greek letters like we are, which you can if you want to. And all of this stuff here, and then inclusion. So there you go. You have all of these results. That's the big section, and we stop right there. Okay. So the results are worth 20 points. All right. So that's where you put everything there, and you can look at here, and you can get more ideas as well. The next part is the conclusions. This is big too. 20 points. Why? Because you are taking your results and your literature and seeing if there's a trend. See if there's something you found. Okay, what did you learn? What did you prove? You really don't prove things, you support things. What are the big things of your work? All right, and it looks a little bit more detail here. Conclusions. What are the implications? That's pretty good. You're going to know for this type of paper that it's going to have to do further research. That's what most of research papers do anyway. Find the way to eliminate other variables. Okay, in your research paper, it's a basic research paper, so you're going to have tons of variables. So even if you have a correlation study, and your implications are, well, you found correlations, but there needs to be more research done. That's fine. That's why we write these things. Okay, so that's the discussion here, and they have all of this stuff to talk about. They even use some of the other to see if it connects with their language, with the literature that they found. And you can see that the discussion is big time. All right, and that's the end of that thing. And the last thing are the references, okay? These are the references. So the list of references, and it has to be in APA style, okay? So this is what you should be doing. Read this, and then let's go to the paper. Here are the references. APA style, be very careful. Notice, I'll focus on this one here. It's in alphabetical order, and you notice it's last name, initial, and if there's another person, ampersand, last name, initial, period, the date of publication, and then the title of the journal article. Okay, this is the title, and notice it's not in italics, just regular font. And then the journal itself is in italics. Okay, the journal has to be in italics. This is the volume number. Journals have volume numbers. And then these are the pages that it follow, and then a period. So that's an APA format. Notice in the second part, it's indented about 5 spaces. This is the actual way an APA formatted journal article in the references should be done. And over here, I don't even know how to read this thing, but apparently this is a book. I can tell it's a book because, excuse me, this is the title of the author, this is the year, and this is the title because it's all in the top of the, it's not italicized, okay? When you have a book, it's just, it's just a, just in regular font. The journal is when it's in italics, journal article, volume number, and then the pages, okay? The pages up there. And so you can see quite a few. All right, now I don't expect this many. So you can try to get as many as you can. I know it says 10 in here. Try to get as many as you can. So those are the references. 15 points for the references, 20 for the conclusion, 20 for the results, and you can read the rest there. Now, how do you get all the points? Pass it in on time. Can't stress that enough. So you know it's due on the due date. Pass it in on that due date. Use APA format. Okay. Now here's a big one. Don't copy other people's work without citations or references. If you copy a quote, put it in from another paper, you can, but put it in quotes and put the citation. Now this is serious. People have gone in front of the academic board. I'm on the academic board just for this. They cite something, but they don't name the citation. It comes across as their own work, and that is an ethical violation, a violation of the university. 12-point type format, write informal, correct your grammar. You know what I do? The first thing I do when I get your paper, I press spell check, and it'll be amazing how many times I see some spell checking mistakes. Also, don't forget, if you use words like to, and to, then you may want to make sure that just because it's spelled correctly, that does make sense. Or it's and its is another thing. You want to be big boys and girls now, okay? So we're talking about using everything that you've learned this semester and putting it into a final package. So I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you later.